Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kim Seltzer, a dating and makeover expert, where I will help you build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. As we set our intentions for the new year, I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about this topic and setting you up for your dating success in 2026. I'm so happy because a lot of you have been telling me you like these solo episodes. You've been learning more from these solos. So I'm setting the intention for the new year to do a lot more of these kind of topical episodes to really help you all. But today I want to talk about something that frustrates so many of you, and I've been hearing a lot of you complaining about this. It's keeping you stuck, and honestly, it's leaving you feeling like you're living in the movie Groundhog Day. You know that movie where it's like the same thing over and over again. Same guy, same woman, same ending, same story. It's almost like you are on dating autopilot. It's like a new partner, same old heartbreaker confusion. I was recently working with a client and she came to me in tears in the beginning and she's like, I swear I'm cursed. I keep meeting the same emotionally unavailable guy over and over and over again and I'm over it. And she would start hopeful and the chemistry would be off the charts and it would be kind of fast and furious and then boom, he would pull away. And she'd overfunction and the relationship would spiral into the same painful ending she swore she would never go through again. So, here's what I told her. I said, "You're not cursed. You are stuck in a loop. You're stuck in a pattern." And patterns aren't prisons. They're just stories you learned a long time ago, stories that we can rewrite. And so, like when we reviewed her upbringing, and she grew up in a home that didn't express feelings, and her father was very distant, and her mom was very critical. Neither one of them were very emotional or affectionate. And there was always this sense of not being good enough. So, fast forward to adulthood, she learned to try to gain the love and validation through achievement. She was almost like the dancing monkey. And let's face it, like in business, this was awesome because she was a high achiever, very outcome driven and oriented. And for the same thing that just really served her in her business, it was killing her love life because she was on this constant quest of achieving love, not feeling love. And she thought having strong chemistry in the beginning was a sign of love because it made her, guess what, feel something. But that was just a drug, and that drug wore off fast. And she was attracting emotionally unavailable men through her tornado interactions because, in the end, guess what? She was unavailable. So we worked together on a lot of things, but the biggest thing that I really help people incorporate in their dating life is emotional IQ. And that's the expression of feelings and how that shows up in our daily communication, even from the time that you say hello. When you first meet somebody on a date, do you use emotional trigger words to solicit some sort of feeling or response? So we did a lot of work on that through her storytelling skills and pacing herself, expressing boundaries right away, doing things that she wanted, saying no to things that she didn't want, and really learn how to date authentically. I do this thing called data dating often, and I had her go on multiple dates of a lot of guys. I said, "You're not allowed to get a boyfriend right now. I just want you really breaking your bad habits of being an overgiver and people pleaser and being kind of emotionally distant yourself." And she really just had to practice those skills. So the purpose of dating was to practice. It wasn't to get a boyfriend. It was really hard for her in the beginning. And she did it and she cracked the code, and it felt really weird and strange as she learned how to, you know, just express how she felt and put more focus on her. And the more open, the more available she was, guess what? She started attracting more available guys. And in the end, she attracted this awesome, awesome guy who was very open. It blew her away so much so that she didn't even believe it. She was going to self sabotage it until we kind of worked through it. And they are still doing the dating thing right now. And she's learning so much about herself and how different it feels to actually feel. And that's what this episode is about. We're heading into a brand new year with dating trends shifting fast from IRL dating making a comeback to emotional availability finally being sexy. This is the perfect moment to interrupt these old cycles that aren't serving you any longer. Because here's the truth: you don't break patterns by hoping for a different partner or preying on it. You break patterns by becoming a different version of you, a more intentional, self aware, boundary setting, grounded, radiant, confident you. Now, here's the reason why these patterns occur. This is important to understand. It really comes back from your childhood. It's just like the client that I told you about. These are unconscious influences from childhood and past relationships that can really guide your choice without realizing it. You attract what you know instead of what you need. And your nervous system actually craves that familiarity, even when it hurts. It's called the familiarity principle. I've talked about this on the podcast before. We always go back to what we're familiar of, good, bad, or indifferent. Even though we may know some things are bad for us, we might gravitate towards that because our brain is saying, oh my God, I get this. This is so familiar. I get being around a narcissist person because that's what I grew up with. I am used to being the dancing monkey and trying to get the attention or the love because that's what I was programmed to do early on. Now, we're not aware of it until we are, right? And patterns often show up as repeated conflicts. They're like almost like similar partner types, like the avoidant or the inconsistent, or cycles of intense attraction followed by disappointment. So you got to ask yourself, like, are you stuck in a dating loop? And here's some signs, just as you're feeling into this and listening to this episode, think about all your exes, people that you were attracted to, people who just kind of tickle your fancy when you're first meeting them. And because really, you can detect these patterns when you get really good at it from the minute you meet somebody. But here's some signs that you're stuck in a dating loop. Like maybe every relationship feels like the last one. It's like different face, same frustration. That's a dating loop. You're not unlucky in love. You're just repeating what's familiar, even if it's not good for you. It's like your brain's way of trying to recreate something and do something different to get a different result. But if you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people, it's usually because you're not emotionally available. Okay. If you're attracting narcissists over and over again, you might be the people pleaser and overgiver. And so you're focusing too much on other people. And so guess what? Takers, narcissists, they love you like that. So again, you're seeing the same people over and over again because you're the same way. When the ending of your relationship starts to sound like deja vu, that's your pattern waving a giant red flag like, hello, we've been here before. And if you're overgiving, shrinking, or performing on dates, that's not attraction. That is a coping mechanism from your past. So if you ever said, Why do I keep attracting the same person? Why do my relationships always end in the same way? Why do I fall for the same person, the wrong ones, and overlook the right ones? This episode is going to give you clarity and empowerment, and I hope some brand new tools to transform how you date this year. So, overall, I want you to think about that patterns aren't prisons. And let me say that again, patterns are not prisons, they're just stories you've learned a long time ago, stories you can rewrite. And you just have to break those habits that's causing the loop. And this is really important. It's important because you cannot attract a new kind of partner with your old identity, with the old paradigm and the way that you think about yourself or the habits that you got into. If you don't understand your patterns, you repeat them. If you don't heal your emotional origin story, you relive it. So patterns are not random. I mean, they got there through some sort of beginning of something that just got repeated over and over and over again. Because here's the thing too about patterns is it's something that we're confident in too. So like if you were an overgiver your whole life, you just got really good at it. So when stress happens, when you're trying to, attract a partner, you go back to where your confidence lives, and that is being the overgiver. So, but your pattern isn't your personality. It's just a habit that you got into. It's your programming. They're familiar, and familiarity feels safe, even when it's bad. So this year, stop choosing the pain just because it's predictable. If it's uncomfortable, it probably means it's something that's actually good for you. I know that sounds like an oxymoron. It's like, why would we go towards pain? Well, we usually are suffering in some way because it's a struggle, and it's a struggle because it's not familiar to us until we practice it. And so just as you got into your bad patterns, you can do the same thing with some good patterns, but you do have to practice. And I know what you're thinking. Kimmy, every time I first meet someone, it's not like I'm purposely getting into a relationship with them thinking, oh, well, these are just like my exes. Of course not. Like, you're not going to think that. In fact, you often think that they're completely different in the beginning. I know that. I throw myself under the bus. I've been in that loop before. And you think they're different until you unzip the costume and oh my God, it's the same guy, the same woman, just different costume. So here's the flip. Once you spot your pattern, you have a choice. Once you understand the emotional role you've been playing, maybe the pursuer, the fixer, the overgiver, the avoider, you can rewrite that script. You're not doomed to repeat your past. You're designed to actually evolve beyond it, but you do have to set that intention. You have to be aware of it. It's not going to happen through osmosis or just saying out loud, this is going to be a great year. I can feel it. I'm going to attract new love in 2026. Don't you love all those like affirmations that are out there? And I believe in affirmations, but what are you going to do about it? It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to think it, but it's a completely different thing to actually have the steps that you need to take to do it and overcome some of these things. So I want to give you some strategies to really help you break some patterns this year. All right. The first thing is obviously the awareness piece. Notice the loop that you're in. If every relationship ends the same way, that's not a coincidence. That is a pattern. If it starts the same way, that's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. If you hear the person tell you the same complaints, if you hear the person like saying the same thing that you were annoyed with your last person, that's not a coincidence. That is a pattern. And guess what? It's not that person's fault. It's not your fault. And you can't change them. All you can do is take a look at you. This is where the empowerment comes from, and say, all right, well, what do I need to do to break the habit to get a different result? So once you're aware of that, that is huge because now you can start doing something about it. So the second step is to interrupt that autopilot that you're on. So do the opposite of what your old instinct might be. So if you used to constantly chase, you're in that state of desperation constantly, you're always watching for that text, you're overdoing everything, don't do it. Flip it. Actually lean back, slow down, see who shows up for you. Be queen bee or be king of your court, and see who actually is giving you what you deserve. Because the truth is if you are in that chasing mode, there's something about you that feels the need to do that or to lock something in, or maybe you're in scarcity mode rather than in the abundant mode. What if you walk through the world saying, the world's my oyster? There's an abundance of men and women who are available to me, but who is going to earn that? And that's flipping the script in your mindset and the way that you're going at things, the way you actually think of things. So, and here's another thing. If you're used to over functioning, over achieving, doing, giving constantly. I know we were just in the holiday season and we were all in constant giving mode, but if that's something like 24/7, then stop, receive, let people do things for you. But hey, look, like it's on you to be open to that. So if you're not comfortable receiving, maybe that's your goal this year. What would it be like to actually receive a compliment and say, and just say thank you and not excuse it? I was working with this woman and she's like, "Oh my god, it's just super hard to do that." Like she was constantly, anytime somebody would give her a compliment, especially men, she would poo-poo it. She would almost like become that girl who'd be like, "Oh no, not me. Oh no, that's just so silly." And she would almost like punt it. And it was really like, I think, causing a lot of men to feel like, you know, all right, well, what am I supposed to do? So here's the thing, because she wasn't comfortable in that mode, in receiving mode, then she would constantly attract these guys who were takers, right? Because she'd rather deflect and, just put everything on them than be open to having men give her compliments, paying for her dinners, giving her um love, even just like caring for her and asking about her day. Like all of that stuff was uncomfortable. So again, like after working together, that was literally all we practiced and it was really uncomfortable. And I'll never forget, it was really, and it's almost like the universe had spoken to her, and it was during the holidays. She had hurt herself and she had to stay off her leg, and she was in her apartment all alone. And this couple called her up just to wish her a Merry Christmas. And, I've been telling her to practice just like sharing with people where she's at. And like, because she hurt her leg, this was a perfect time for her to practice receiving. And she said to the couple, "Oh, I broke my leg, or I hurt my leg and I am starving right now. Is there any way that you could bring me some dinner?" Like she couldn't believe that that was coming out of her mouth. And the couple said, "Oh my gosh, not only would we love that, we would love to, have dinner with you and visit you." And through the course of their dinner, she also told them that she was looking for love and that she was single. And the couple was like, well, we didn't even know that you wanted to date. Like, you've never said anything. We actually have a guy that we think you would really like. And she ended up going out with that guy and they're still dating. So, I mean, it's amazing the domino effect that can happen when you just say yes to something, when you allow people to give to you. And this was a pattern disruption that she did for herself. And she said, Kimmy, that was the hardest thing I ever did, just like asking for dinner and being open and vulnerable and where she was at. But because of that, she got dinner and she got a guy that she's dating. This is the magic that happens when you are in that practice mode. Um, if you're avoidant and you're used to avoiding things, stop it. Lean in. Do things like hit it on the head directly. So many of you are not expressing yourself and you might do passive aggressive type of behaviors or talking around things. But here's the problem with that. When you avoid conflict, when you avoid being direct, you're actually creating more hurt. Like, you think you're being nice by doing that or not creating waves, but by in efforts of doing that, you're actually creating more waves for yourself and for the other person because that stuff builds up over time. And I've been working with a lot of you on boundaries and how you can, like, just say what you mean and how you feel in time and not waiting for things to build up. These are all super important. The other thing is date with intention. Your love life changes the moment you date consciously. Wake up. All right. Use this year. I know we were all in like food comatose in the last couple of weeks and indulging. And, a lot of you are hitting the gym right now. Everyone gets motivated. That's why, health clubs go crazy. They're always packed. It cracks me up because I'm a big fan of health clubs and I go every day. It's just something that I enjoy doing in my routine. And this time of year, I always see a ton of people in the gym that I've never seen before. And then that'll last about a month. And then by February, March, I'll start seeing, the old crowd again and it's not as busy. And the reason that is because everyone has good intentions set in the new year. But if you don't make those kind of mini transactional type of goals, it's not going to happen long term. So it's your turn to wake up and be aware, but now, create these little goals for yourself and do something. Maybe it's just, going to a public setting and saying hi. Maybe you just have been, a hermit for, all of December, and maybe you didn't get out for the holidays like I told you to do. And so just say, okay, for this month of January, I'm just going to get out and say hi and make eye contact with people and just set that as the intention. Also, as I alluded before, set strong boundaries early. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters for the right people. So don't protect yourself by not saying anything. Set some boundaries for yourself in like little moments. Even on a first date, you can do that as well. So if a guy wants to take you to sushi and you're not into sushi, you don't have to be mean about it and say, I don't like sushi. I want to go to Mexican. I'm not talking about hardballing your boundaries. You can say something flirty and fun like, well, sushi's not my jam, but you know what would really make me happy? I love like a mean taco, or, my favorite dish is blah, blah, blah. It's like you can throw out something and not have to worry about pleasing that person. You're saying what you like. A good person is going to respond to that. And that's what you're looking for. So it is a filter for the right person from very early on. And the other thing that I will say is heal before you hook up. grounded people don't fall for the same patterns. If you have healed and really worked on this stuff, then you're not going to fall for the same patterns later on. It's going to save you a ton of time if you nip it in the bud now. The other thing is to shift your mindset for 2026. And you can do that by choosing healthy over familiar. Comfort isn't always compatible. Familiarity is not chemistry. Safety is sexy. Consistency is where it's at. And ask yourself what the relationship is mirroring. Like instead of saying and falling victim to this and saying, "Oh, why me? Why does this always happen to me?" Ask, well, what is this teaching me? What do I need to learn and what do I need to do about it? If you look at dating as a skill, not just fate, anyone can date differently when you have the right tools. So commit to the aligned attraction, something that's good for you that might be breaking the bad pattern that you've gotten yourself into. And you can pick the person who matches your growth, not your wounds. Let me say that again. You pick the person who finally matches your growth. If you are in that growth mode, then you're not going to attract those old wounds that we talked about before. And if you're listening to this and you're realizing, wow, I've been dating from fear, I've been doing these old patterns over and over again, I've been in autopilot, I'm caught in a loop. Here is one last strategy that will put you into action. You can take all this one step further and join this workshop that I have coming up. And it's called Authentic Dating Workshop. I haven't done this one in a long time. I think it's the perfect time to reset things. And as some of you know who've been coming to mine, they're always co-ed, they're live, they're interactive, and it's not just a talking head where you're going to be a passenger sitting there. You are going to be learning and then practicing things. You'll be learning how to express yourself with confidence, break those patterns that we've been talking about today, attract partners who actually match your emotional availability, and move through dating with less fear and more authentically you. So if you struggle with saying what you really feel, if, attracting emotionally unavailable partners that we've talked about, if you're overgiving, people pleasing, or you shut down, if you fear rejection, you are not knowing how to flirt or build the chemistry, you rely on those tornado interactions, or you simply show up as you in dating. Like if all of those things are a struggle, definitely come. Because, authenticity is a pattern breaker, and that's exactly what we're going to work on together. So you're just going to go to stophatingdating.com, stophatingdating.com, or just click the link you'll see in the show notes to grab your spot. We have a couple weeks if you're listening to this when it's coming out. Make sure you click the link to see if there's spots available. Okay, I want to read a letter from somebody who this is on point. She says, Kimmy, I'm 52, newly divorced. I've realized I've been choosing the same narcissist man for decades. I'm scared. I don't know how to choose differently. How do I break the cycle at my age? Lost but hopeful. Oh my gosh. Okay, first of all, thank you for your honesty. You are so not alone in this. Most later daters wake up one day and they realize they've been following a script written for, a very long time, and it's rooted in childhood. But a lot of times you don't realize that until later in life. And let me tell you, the moment you see the pattern and you wake up is the moment it starts to lose its power. So that is the good news. All right. Here's the truth. If you don't change your behavior, your story won't change. There is no magical unicorn partner who will fix your pattern for you. You must show up differently to attract something different. So, if you are listening to this and you're the one that wrote this letter, or if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, this woman is exactly like me, I want to give you some tips. Start by identifying the role you play in relationships. My guess is that you are a pleaser, overgiver, and focus way too much on others than yourself. So it's time to flip that script and demand more for yourself. Two, practice the micro boundaries like we were talking about before on every single date. Small choices create those big outcomes. So say no to sushi and yes to tacos. Say no, I won't drive all that way. I'd like somewhere closer. I would love a sweater. I'm too cold. Like whatever it is, practice just saying out loud how you feel. And by the way, it's not just things that make you uncomfortable or bad things. It's also saying out loud the things that excite you, the things that you're passionate about. Those are the emotions that spill from storytelling when you're on a date that elicit a response. Also, expand your dating template. Try on men or women you normally overlook. It's like going shopping. So go dating shopping. Don't just buy the first thing that you see or the thing that looks good on the mannequin. Try on different people for size and see how it feels. You know, some have a very low hanger appeal. And then you try it on and you're like, ooh, well, I kind of like this. This feels good. I like the way I look in this. And sometimes things look really great on a mannequin. And then you try it on, you're like, ugh, this is awful. Well, guess what? People are no different than clothes. That's why I love working with clothes as a metaphor. Shop shop men and women, shop clothes. This is your year to do that. And finally, slow down the pace. Fast chemistry hides old wounds. They falsely make you feel something. It's like a quick hit. It's that drug, but it doesn't allow you to really see and detect bad patterns that you might be in. So slow down and learn how to pace things out. So here's the beautiful part. The fact that you wrote this letter tells me you already are halfway out of the loop because that awareness will create the momentum, which will create the change overall. So, as you've been listening, we all have patterns, every single one of us, and breaking them is one of the most empowering things you can do, not just for your dating life, but for your identity, for your confidence, for your future relationships, for your family, for your friends. And what shows up in one area leaks into others, and you're going to feel the difference in all aspects of your life. This is universal. The moment you shift, everything around you will shift with you. Because remember, patterns aren't prisons, they're just stories you've learned a long time ago and stories that you can rewrite. You just have to break habits that's causing the loop. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today. This has been the Charisma Quotient. I'm your host, Kimmy Seltzer. And remember, you can build confidence, make connections, and find love from the outside in. I hope you enjoyed it today. And if you're ready to stop repeating your old story and create a new path to love this year, remember, come join my upcoming Authentic Dating Workshop that's going to set you up for dating success in the new year. You'll learn how to express yourself honestly without fear. You're going to learn how to date with confidence and intention and how to break those old patterns that we have been talking about that are probably holding you back. And it's been holding you back for years. You probably haven't realized it. Just go to stophatingdating.com, register, grab your spot. And like always, you're always invited to hop on a free private call with me. If you want to do both, even better. This way, it'll stop repeating your old story. You're not just going to wish it or will it, you're going to do something about it. And remember, working on you is working on your dating life. That's all for now.